What's going on, y'all? What's up? It's your man Jerry Goins once again. In today's video, we going live just to talk about Biden's. Here's just basically just three things about Biden's new social credit program that he's in the works of coming up with. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about redlining. What is that? And then we're gonna talk about some things that you can do right now to improve your credit score. All right, so once you're tapping on in, go ahead and drop down your area code of where you're tuning in from, so we can go ahead and get that going. But we want to understand a few things about credit, and there's a lot of problems about credit right now because it disproportionately affects the Black and brown community. And I know some people don't believe in systemic racism and all that, and this is not one of those videos, but honestly, it's a documented, it's a real thing. You can actually go through and see the data and see like how, if you're from a low income area, you're typically going to be what? Black and brown, right? Now, why is that? Going all the way back, let's talk about redlining just real quickly, because we can prove that it was the government that put us in this kind of situation. Now, whether we choose to stay in this situation, like Kanye said, sounds like after 400 years, slavery is a choice, right? But we have to understand how we are, where we are, and why we are. So go ahead and share this thing, like this thing up, comment where you are tuning in from, so we can go ahead and get this feed and these algorithms going. I appreciate that. What's up, Billy Bang? So let me take you back to the 1930s. This is around the Great Depression. FDR was president. To help get us out of this Great Depression, they came up with some programs, right? So they decided to give out a bunch of money to help people, buy homes, right? Now, to further classify this, because they're not just going to give everybody money. Even today with the stimulus, they're not just giving everybody money, right? So what they did is they decided to draw up maps. And they took maps and they said, this neighborhood right here, this is a grade A neighborhood. This neighborhood over here is a grade B, C, and D neighborhoods. Now, the D neighborhoods were the most high risk, okay? And lo and behold, these high risk areas were the urban areas, okay? If you know about economics, you know that the center of poverty is always going to be closer to the city in these urban areas. Why is that? Because when you live out further from the city, you have the resources to commute into the city. You have the resources to buy land. You have the resources to buy homes and things like that outside the city. So naturally, you don't have homeless people living out in rural areas because they don't have access to public transportation. They don't have access to jobs and things like that. They just simply can't get there. So naturally, these urban areas are going to be low income areas. Y'all follow me so far? Yeah, you got it, Billy. So naturally, these areas are going to be low income. So what the government said, and this is our government, this is the people that's supposed to be taking care of us. They said these areas are high risk. We're not going to give them loans. So if you lived in a redlined area, you couldn't buy a home in your area. Even if the home you were renting out of, you're not getting a loan to get it. How crazy is that? But all the grade A areas, oh, they made it rain. You think the stimulus check is new? Nah, stimulus check ain't nothing new. They've been giving out stimulus checks. But back then, they used to do it based on race, okay? Because they said that these people in these low income areas, we're not going to give them access to wealth, because they're not going to be able to pay it back. Even though, back in the day, you could just look through even just the inventions. Black people have been holding up the economy and inventing things and reshaping the thing. Even the cell phone that you're using right now, guess what? That little chip inside that, a black man, right? So think about it. How in the world aren't we able, with all this creativity, all this enterprise, how are we deemed high risk? You know what I'm saying? So it's all been a game, but now, the game that's being played is on your mind, because you still think that you can't produce wealth. You still think the government still has these shackles on you? Redlining been over. Redlining ended in 1977. It was outlawed. So since 1977, tell me why black people are 4 times more likely to own homes in these previously redlined areas. Tell me why the wealth for those people have only gone up, or the wealth for those people is about 50% less. The home values have risen about 50% less, which is about $200,000 less than the other communities in the grade A areas. Let me run that back by you again. So the areas that were not redlined, that were able to get that bread, they've appreciated 50% more, about $200,000 more than the areas that were redlined. So when you talk about wealth and building wealth, we all know that real estate, is one of the pillars of building wealth. So if your or not even great, this is your great grandma, okay? Growing up, if she didn't have access, and your great grandpa didn't have access to that same money that, and I'm just going to say someone down the street now, or someone that you went to college with, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't go to an HBCU, you know what I'm talking about. Their families got access to this money. They were able to triple up and double up, and I'm not going to say like, oh, they did us wrong, because right now you have the ability to get it right. Ain't no more redlining. Only red line is in your mind right now. Okay. So getting back to Biden's plan, and shout out to Joe Biden. I mean, at least he's addressing these things from a government standpoint, from a political standpoint, saying, hey, the credit score systemically affects these people wrong. Let's go ahead and try to change this thing. Now, how he's trying to change it, I don't know if I agree to all that. You know what I'm saying? Because, you see what they're doing in China, right? Maybe I shouldn't even say no more, because maybe, they starting to listen right now from them devices, right? I know y'all seen that CIA joint on Netflix, right? But in China, they have something called a social credit score, where the government, okay, is in control of the credit, down to the point where if you have a low social credit score in China, you don't even get high-speed internet access. Now, some of y'all are on cell phone plans that throttle you down after you hit a certain limit, right? So imagine it's not because you hit a certain limit that you're throttled down. It's because you got bad credit. Let that hit you, right? You don't even get access to high-speed public transportation in China if you have a low social credit score. And you know what else is crazy? They have cameras at the checkout line. You know how at Walmart, right? You go to Walmart, you got the self-checkout, right? And it's got a camera up there, right? In China, if you're not smiling and happy on camera and on any of their surveillance equipment, if you're not smiling and happy, it dings your social credit score. That's crazy. And I've been talking about this. You guys could go through my Facebook page. I've been talking about this for almost 2 years now, what China's doing. And I said, you have to watch it, because United States follows China. China is ahead of the United States, if you didn't know. I mean, you might just think that all you see is the poor things going on in China. China is way more advanced in a lot of different aspects. And as a matter of fact, I do believe that the digital yuan, which is their currency, will be the new base currency for the world. Right now it's the dollar. And the same people that decided that the dollar was going to be the base currency of the world, those same people have decided, hey, it's time to reset this thing. They're coming out publicly and saying it's time to rebrand the global currency. And the digital yuan, Juan, I think that's how you spell it, is slated to be the next digital currency, or the world-based currency. And they're going to have the Olympics where? In China. And guess what they're going to do? Make you convert your dollars into digital yuan. And you're going to take this digital yuan back to your country, and it's going to start to, y'all don't want to hear me talk though, because when I talk, I don't know. Y'all don't listen. But anyway, I've been saying this stuff. So what Biden is doing now with creating a social credit score, it's great because, you know, it takes away it takes away the ability for people to just kind of gain money on by holding your data. You know, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, they hold your data and then they sell it to companies and lenders that want to see if you're a good borrower. They want to see, like your mortgage company want to see, like, yo, does Jerry actually pay his bills on time? Because, you know, I'm about to give him 100, 200,000. I don't even make sure, you know, that he going to be able to pay it. So the system is there for a reason. It's a good system, but it has so many flaws. For example, if I made a payment on my credit card and they said I didn't make a payment on my credit card, now we have two sides to a story. And I'm going to have to sit up here and dispute things with the credit bureau, try to get it off and all this kind of things. They might leave it on there. I'm going to have to threaten to sue them and all that. You know, our program actually does disputes for you automatically on a month-to-month basis. So we just continuously send out disputes. We dispute every negative item and we force the credit bureaus to verify it. You know, that's what we do for you. You know, but with this system, it's not going to be a credit bureau. It's not going to be 3 independent credit bureaus. It's going to be one credit bureau, the CFPB or CFB, the Consumer Finance Reporting Bureau, or I forget what it's called, but it's the thing that you basically submit your disputes to right now if you're having any kind of consumer anywhere you have a financial company that's reporting your information wrong, you send it to the CFPB. And they will help. Basically, it's a governmental agency that protects consumers from being done wrong. But now they would actually have the total power of controlling your credit score. Okay, so now the government is going to have your credit score. So that's 3 things about that. That's number 1, is that there's not going to be if this goes through now. If this goes through, it's not. You know, they didn't say it's going to go through, and if it does, it's going to take a minute to go through because now they got to collect their own data. Okay, but number 2 thing about it is they're going to shorten the statute of limitations, because right now with your credit, if you have bad credit or something that bad happens on your credit, it's going to stay on there for 7 years, right? 7 years. So with this new deal, I'm saying new deal because that's what, you know, FDR said, the new deal. But with this new deal, it's going to only stay on there for 4 years. That's cool. That's good. You know, we shouldn't be dinged off of things that we did, you know, fresh out of high school. And now we, you know, 25, trying to go ahead and start a family and things like that. And we're getting dinged for things we did 7 years ago. No, that's not right. You know, I think the 4-year thing is great. Let's go ahead and chop off things at 4 years. Let's all build a little bit faster. It's going to help expand our economy a little bit faster, right? And the third thing about what, you know, this whole social thing is going to do is it's going to make it it's going to include things like utilities and rent payments. Because right now, if you live in a low income area, chances are more people are renting. Why do I know that? Because logically speaking, if you own your own home, then you have a higher income, or you've been able to establish a better credit score, a higher, you know, you put down more cash to be there. If you rent, you put down 2 months of rent and you're in there. If you buy a house, you're putting down 3 to 5 to 20% to be there. You see what I'm saying? So obviously, you're going to have a disproportionate amount of people that are renting versus home owning in a low income area. So by being able to report your rent on your credit score, now that's going to help level the playing field, because you got all these people out here paying their mortgage and it's counting towards their credit and it's helping them build their credit. But then you have people that may be low income that are renting. And again, I'm not saying that because you're renting, you're low income. I'm just talking about the area. Okay, because some people, they don't buy houses because they're rolling stones. Hey, my job requires me to move around. I'm not going to buy a house where I'm not going to live. That makes sense, you know? So I'm not saying that you're renting and you're low income. I'm just saying that people that are buying houses, they're getting the benefit on their credit score from buying the house, whereas people that are not, aren't. Now, there are some companies that do rent reporting, which is great. You just got to find a good one. You know, we have a list of companies that offer rent reporting, and it goes back up to 2 years. So that adds good credit history to your profile. Okay. And things like utilities. How long you been paying your light bill, right? How long you been paying your water bill, your cell phone bill, right? Why aren't these things being included in your credit? You know, so now with this, it's going to start including your utilities. And I'm sweating out here. It's starting. North Carolina starting to heat up, y'all. Starting to heat up. Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. Chocolate ain't melting. We ain't melting. Anyway. But yeah. So when you're thinking about your credit, you want the most things that you can to report to it. But right now, it doesn't. You know, and again, that affects certain people more than it affects others. So now when we level the playing field and we got the rent reporting, we got utilities reporting, instead of 7 years on bad items, it's only 4 years. You know, and now instead of 3 companies housing all this information, selling your data, correct or not, now it's going to be one government agency holding that information. You know, that calls for some good and some bad, because technically we don't need the utilities to necessarily be included for the government to come and tell us that, because the new Ultra FICO already does that. The new Ultra FICO already includes utilities, and they're looking at including rent reporting. So we don't really need the government to do that. But I think it's a give and a take, because there are some good things that this would do, especially the dropping off the 7 years, dropping it down to 4 years. But there are some bad things, like letting the government control your credit. It's going to be a lot harder to dispute things when the government takes over. It's going to be a lot, because right now I can drop a lawsuit and send the paperwork over to Experian right now and say, look, I done told y'all get this off. Y'all haven't proved that it's valid or not. But now, how am I going to do that to the government? I can't just sue. You can't just sue the government. There has to be a tort. You have to file a tort claim. There has to be negligence. There has to be loss. You have to take that thing all the way up, and it's going to take so much longer than it does in private court. You know, so it's like, if there is an error on your credit report, you're gonna be hard pressed to try to get that thing off if it's on the government, you know. So that's a bad thing. So what you need to do is get better credit now. No matter what happens, they're gonna take a few years, because now they're gonna have to collect the data, okay? And so what you want to do now is get good credit, so that way when it transfers over, if it ever does transfer over, then you're already good, okay? So you don't want to transfer over bad credit and then try to fight things after it's already there. So what you want to do right now, you want to go ahead and get a free consultation with your boy, okay? All I'm going to do is just ask you about your credit goals, ask you about your credit report, see what's on it. Let's see what negative items that we potentially can get off of your credit report. And then I'll give you a game plan to do it yourself or have us do it. You know, it's not all for profit. You know, I want to be able to help people and raise that status quo. We've already helped over 60,000 people, you know, collectively as a company. So, and you can tell, like, and it's funny because some people, they leave our company and then they go on to do their own thing and they're doing credit, but then they pretend like they, you know, were doing it the whole time. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, y'all stop laughing. But seriously, you know, link up with us. I'll give you a game plan to get a better credit score, get you in the game, get you, and if you're interested in actually taking over the real estate in your area, starting a real estate investment business, you need to holler at me as well, because we're making moves to help push more and more people to become not just homeowners, but real estate investors. Okay, you want to learn what it is to fix and flip a house. You want to learn all the pitfalls before you run into them and cost yourself $20,000-$30,000 when all you had to do is have some knowledge. You know, you want to avoid all these pitfalls. You want to know what it's like to buy and hold a home and be able to rent that out, to Airbnb that mug out without even putting down your own money. You want to learn the 70 ways to buy a house without a real estate agent. You know, shout out to all my real estate agents out there, because they make that process so much easier, so much cleaner. But there are a lot of ways for you to buy a house without a real estate agent, and then you can cut them in on the back end by saying, hey, look, I have a house, can you help me find a tenant? Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why you want this information. And then you also want to learn how to get property and acquire property without putting your money down and being able to sell it to somebody else. That's called wholesaling, for more than what you were able to get it under contract for. Okay, learn all these principles, man. It's time, because it's, like I said, it's going to get harder to access the capital. I've been on this thing too long. I'm out here melting. Y'all go ahead and light it up, share this thing if it helped, and you know, go ahead and inbox me so I can go ahead and set up that consultation with you, and let's get your credit popping, get you investing, and you know, take that red line out your mind. You know, again, the only red line is in your mind. Appreciate y'all. Peace. Oh yeah, goinsfinancial.com. You can check out some more info there. Is that it? That's it. Am I talking to myself now?